This is going to be one of the most in-depth trainings that you've seen on how to increase your show-up rates. And increasing your show-up rates is one of the easiest, fastest, and most impactful ways to not only increase your revenue, but increase the profit that you're taking home every single month. And let me illustrate that here. So let's say right now you're taking 10 sales calls a day. And let's say that you have a 50% show-up rate, which is not uncommon when I first work with a client. That means you're doing 5 taken calls a day. And let's say that you're closing at about a 25% rate, which would put you right around 1 close a day. And that times, let's say, a $5,000 price point would mean that you're going to be making about $5,000 a day. Not too shabby, right? But what if we were able to take this 50% show-up rate and we were able to actually change it to an 80% show-up rate, which is not uncommon when we start working with our clients. That means that instead of taking 5 calls a day, you're actually going to take 8 calls a day. And then if we just assume nothing else changes but the show-up rate, that we still have a 25% close rate, we're actually going to go to 2 closes a day. And that means that 2 closes times 5,000 is actually going to be $10,000 a day. So we literally just doubled the business. And more importantly, we almost doubled the profit because we're not having to do any more marketing efforts. We're not having to spend any more money on ads. We're not having to do any of this extra stuff that costs money. It's just a couple of things that you can do to increase your show-up rate and more specifically, get your show-up rate to stay there as you scale. So let's start with the fundamentals. Why does somebody not show up to a sales call that they have booked, right? It's not like you're forcing these people to book it with a gun to their head. And I think that most people, they have good intentions. It's not like people are booking on your calendar just to take up a spot and to waste your time and to waste theirs. But I see 2 fundamental issues whenever I'm analyzing a client's business on why they have bad show rates. So the first one is that they simply can't show up to the call. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean by they literally don't have the link. There's some technical problem, et cetera, et cetera. And the second one is that they do not want to, okay? They don't want to show up to the call. Now, these 2 seem very obvious, like, okay, I get that, but I'm actually going to break this down into a little bit more first principles basis so that you can understand it instead of trying these quick fixes and little hacks that everybody's talking about. And then we'll talk about the tactics and all that stuff at the end. So let's start with can't. This one's really obvious, but you would be surprised how many times I see my clients having this issue in the first place. Can't means that somebody just booked a call to speak with you and you don't have something that lets them know as soon as they book the call that their call has been booked. You don't have something that sends them the link, like say the Zoom link for that call. You don't have an automation that reminds them leading up to the call, et cetera, et cetera. And so somebody books this call, they don't get anything, and then you're wondering why they don't show up. And here's an actual true story. At one point, our show rates were declining month over month, and I couldn't figure out why. And so finally, I decided to we call it secret shop my own funnel. So I went through with my fiance's information, and I booked a call on my calendar, and I realized immediately what the problem was, and that after I booked the call, there was absolutely no confirmation. Somehow, through a bunch of changes that we made, we turned off the automated email and text reminders when somebody booked a call, and so they weren't getting notified that they had just booked a call. And they might be getting a text, let's say 10 minutes before the call later on, but they had kind of already thought, oh, this process didn't work, oh, I don't really have a booked call, because they didn't get a confirmation as soon as they booked. Now, I think you can go overboard with confirmations, which is something we're going to talk about a little bit later. But at the very beginning, it's important to at least tell somebody, like when they buy something, when they book a call, when they become a lead, hey, you just did this thing and I'm acknowledging you that you did this. A lot of people have no idea that they've done it, right? So is making sure that you have the most basic email or text automation sequences in place, no matter what software or system that you're using, is absolutely critical. Another example, I had a client of mine. He had a 30% show rate. He was doing everything that I'm going to talk about underneath this step 2 here, and he still couldn't figure out why this person wasn't booking a call or wasn't showing up to the call in order to speak with them. And after I once again went through and secret shopped his funnel, I realized that it was saying, hey, here's your Zoom link, but the actual Zoom link was not sending. So he was waiting on the Zoom link for all these people the entire time, and they never had the Zoom link. And because he was running paid ads, and he was in a very highly competitive industry, none of the people that were supposed to book with him ever texted him and said, hey, I didn't have a Zoom link. They just said, oh, well, whatever, this person doesn't care. Oh, it's broken, I'm not going to show up. And so once again, once we added in the Zoom link and he was already doing this stuff here, his show rate shot from, like, let's say 20 or 30% back up to 80%, which is obviously substantial for the business. So the real secret for number 1 is just to secret shop your own funnel. Secret shop your own booking system and make sure that it is obvious, like literally a child could come on here and book it. And that's what I suggest. Get somebody that's not in your industry, that doesn't know who you are, like maybe just like a friend or something. I mean, they're not a prospect, and have them go through the process and just make sure that it's abundantly clear to them how they get on the call. And you might be shocked at what kind of couple little technical holes that you have in your funnel that you could patch up in a second and immediately see a lift up in your show rate. Okay, now let's go into number 2. They do not want to show up to the call. This one's going to be a little bit meatier and going to have a little bit more tactics inside of it. So what do you mean, Ravi, they do not want to show up to the call? Well, what I mean by they do not want to show up to the call is that whenever somebody is choosing to do something, whether it's a dentist appointment, it's a sales call, it is a meeting with their girlfriend, fiance, boyfriend, whatever else it is, in today's day and age, that time is being competed with the 10,000 other things that that person is doing. And especially if you're serving, let's say, somebody who is making a little bit more money, which a lot of my clients typically try to serve the higher end of marketplaces. Well, they're making a little bit more money probably because they're working kind of hard and they probably already don't have a lot of time. And so it's not uncommon for this person to say, oh my God, somebody just quit today, or I had this other fire I had to put out. And so I'm viewing this thing as more important than that original call that we had scheduled together. And that's what I mean that they do not want to. It's not necessarily that they are like, oh, I hate you. It's more like, okay, I have 2 options to use my time here. One is on this call with you, or one is in this one of a million other things that could show up. So what your job is to do is to make sure that that reason why they get on the call with you is so important that they literally would let their puppy drown if they had to. Okay, I'm obviously exaggerating here a little bit, but they would literally give up almost anything else to make sure that they're on the call with you. So how do we make that kind of loyalty? How do we get it so that these people are literally so eager and excited to get on the call with you that they have to show up? Well, there's a few things, right? Number 1 is going to be trust. So they need to really, really trust you. They need to really, really trust the process. They need to really, really trust that you're going to show up to the call as well. And they really need to trust that their time's not going to be wasted. Now, I could go way deeper inside of this. I talk about in some of my other videos how we're currently in a trust recession, meaning that we're at the lowest point of person-to-person trust in the last 40 years. And so people are more skeptical than ever. And so they're not usually willy-nilly coming out and being like, oh, I trust you. Here's all my money. Let me hop on one call and pay you my money right away. They're going to want to be warmed up, nurtured, wined and dined, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the best ways to build trust is going to be with content, okay? So we want to make sure that before somebody gets on the call, and I'm not just talking about YouTube videos and Instagram videos, I'm just mean content in general. Before somebody gets on a call, that they are getting warmed up considerably and that they're getting exposure to us and our brand. So that way we make sure that by the time they get on the call, that they're actually going to show up. Because it's like, it would be, for example, like let's say that you went and you met somebody that was in your neighborhood, let's say this past weekend, and you guys hung out, you met them at the dog park, whatever, you guys talked for a couple hours, then you ended up having dinner together and you got to know them even more. And now you spent, let's say, 5 or 6 hours together. If that person then said, hey, Ravi, do you mind like coming over to my place tomorrow? I want to show you something, let's say 12 o'clock. You would show up to that only because you trust that person and you've spent so much time with them, and you'd almost feel guilty or bad if you just didn't show up. Now, let's say, for example, on the other end, let's say I'm at the dog park. Somebody approaches me and says, hey, Ravi, I can help you, I don't know, get more booked appointments. If you want to learn more, show up tomorrow at 12 p.m. and show up at my house. And then they just walk away. Well, I'm going to probably not show up at that person's house because I literally just talked to them for 2 seconds. I have almost nothing emotionally invested inside of this, and I don't really trust that person. How do I know that you're legitimate? How do I know that you can actually help me get more book calls, right? And so I'm going to probably no-show that person. Even though I hate when people no-show me, it almost feels like it's not even that obligated to do it because I barely have built up any trust with that person. So content is the number 1 way to build trust with your prospects. And there's a few ways that you can do that, right? So there's going to be top of funnel content. And this could be, for example, YouTube videos. This could be Instagram videos. This could be ads. But this is where people are really getting to know you. They're spending the first 1 to 2 to 3 hours with you, consuming your content, understanding that you know what you're talking about. They're learning from you. And people that learn from other people, they respect those people. They trust those people. If you teach somebody something that they didn't know previously, well, then they're going to see you as this authority figure. And the best way and easiest way to do that is, of course, going to be top of funnel content, right? But then you have middle of funnel stuff. So middle of funnel means after they've consumed a couple couple of your videos, they spent 1, 2, 3 hours with you. Well, now we want to try to start to filter out those that just want to watch your videos and watch your stuff for free, and those that are actually genuinely interested in your help. And that's where you're going to create stuff like video sales letters. That's where you're going to create stuff like webinars. That's where you're going to create stuff like email sequences, right? These are all things that we're doing to continue to build the trust that we built top of funnel here, but we're going to be a little bit more, let's say, aggressive. We're going to be a little bit more direct. We're going to say, hey, you've liked all of this content. If you've watched my stuff before, then you're probably this kind of person. Let me actually show how we can help you X, Y, Z. And we're going to go deep into pain points and desires and painting a picture and building social proof and credibility. Most of the people that watch this channel are going to know what a video sales letter and a webinar is. And if you don't, I have a really great video on my channel on how to write a 7-figure video sales letter, but this is just additional content. They're still getting to know us even better. I'll give you a funny story. I had a client of mine, and they started working with this agency, and he was saying, wow, this agency's doing amazing. We're getting 15, 16 book calls a day right now. This is crazy. And I was like, wow. And I knew the budget that he was doing. So I was like, wow, this is really impressive. And so I went to his ads library and I saw the ads that the agency was running. And it pretty much was like, hey, are you interested in investing? ? Book a call below. No, nothing else. They went there straight to a calendar page. They booked a call that asked 2 questions. I think it was like name and email. And then they booked the call. And so I was like, dude, of course you're getting all these book calls, but first of all, I guarantee none of these people are qualified. Second of all, they have no idea who you are, what you do. They don't trust you. Third of all, I know they're not going to show up and they're obviously not going to close, right? So you don't just want to be trying to optimize for booked calls. You want to be optimized for qualified book calls of people who trust you. And I'm going to get a little bit deeper into separating those people out when I talk about the second element here, not just trust. But now we're in middle of funnel content. So we're being a little bit more aggressive and we're trying to push them through. And finally, we have bottom of funnel content. And this is what I typically see post booking. So this is after somebody books a call to speak with you. What kind of content are we sending there? I almost always love some kind of, I call it an authority asset. But this is something that we have after somebody books a call to speak with us that typically isn't going to be seen anywhere else. It's not going to be top of funnel. It's not going to be middle of funnel. It's some special content or piece of like, let's say we use Google Documents all the time that somebody can consume on their own time before they get on a call. And for me, I have a 32-page document that I send people. And some people are like, oh my God, that's so much content. Like, why would anybody want to consume 32 pages? You're right. A lot of people wouldn't. But there are a great deal of people who do want to learn more before they get on a call with you. And so why not create that content for them to consume? Because all I have to do is create it one time. And once I created that one time, now that person is going to consume it, or 10,000 people are going to consume it without any more work on my part. And you tell me this, if somebody watches, let's say 4 YouTube videos, a full 10-minute video sales letter, and reads 32 pages of a document, do you think that they might trust me at that point? Do you think they might show up to that call at that point? Do you think that they might actually close at that point? The answer is obviously yes, or at least they're going to have a higher likelihood of doing it than if they didn't do these things, right? So having this bottom of funnel authority asset post booking is really, really critical. The second thing that I like to do bottom of funnel is I like to do, we'll call it manual confirmation. So manual confirmation, and this is so funny. I had another client I was on a call with last week, and they were scaling. I think they're at like $650,000 a month, but their show rate's abysmal. It's 40%. And he was like, hey, Ravi, I wanted you to help me out with my show up rate. And I saw this other guy on YouTube talking about this strategy where you send like 40 emails in the first 4 days after somebody books. And I spent the whole weekend implementing that, and I'm really excited for that to happen. And so I said, okay, cool. That might work. You know, we'll see what happens from that. Come back in a week and tell me how that goes. But talk to me about what your manual confirmation process is after somebody books, meaning after somebody books a call. Does anybody ever call them? Does anybody ever reach out and say, hey, Bob, it's Ravi here from Scalable Systems. I'm super excited for your call. And he's like, we try to get the salespeople to do it, and they would do it for a couple of days, and then they wouldn't do it. And so it kind of fell off the horse. And so this is automated, so we don't have to worry about it. And I told him the same thing I'll tell you right now, which is we learned this in May of last year. But in May of last year, we had a 100% show up rate for all of our sales calls. What was the difference? I made every single salesperson send a Loom video before they got on the call with a person telling them, hey, we're super excited to speak. I saw your application. I looked up your business online. Here are a few ideas that I have, and I'm excited to speak with you on that call. Well, now this business owner, for us, business owner, is going to think, wow, this isn't just some sleazy salesperson. I'm not just a number to them. They've already done some research, and I'm probably going to learn more on this call than I would in any other area inside my business. And so I'm going to trust this person more in order to help me than I could if I was to read a book or watch a YouTube video or do these 10 things over there, right? And so I asked him, why don't you implement that with your business? He goes, oh, it's too difficult to do, blah, blah, blah. And he said, I don't have any quality control. I said, look, let's not make it complicated. All you need to do is you need to have a virtual assistant literally every single day post the show up rate for every individual sales rep. And you need to add inside of that little post inside the Slack channel, how many of those sales reps actually sent a Loom confirmation video before the call. And so if you just show that on a daily basis, instead of flogging your sales reps and saying, send the Loom video, and penalizing them, you can carrot them. You can incentivize them. If, let's say, for example, I'm on this sales team and I have a 30% show up rate and the person next to me has an 80% show up rate. Well, ultimately, I want to figure out what this person that has the 80% show up rate is doing, because we both have the same time in the day. We're both getting the same amount of booked calls, but he's talking to almost 3 times more people and thus is likely making 3 times the commissions that I'm making. And so without me being forced to do anything, I'm naturally going to be like, what is this guy doing? And how are they getting so many calls taken? And then I'm going to see, oh, wow, he's sending these personal Loom videos. Now I'm going to start sending these personal Loom videos. And I'm going to do that as long as it keeps my show up rate up. And that's that's all you want, right? But the problem is that most people don't even measure it in the first place. Peter Drucker was the person who said, what gets measured gets managed. So we want to make sure that we're measuring this, but don't make it complicated. Don't make it fancy. I literally just said, get a VA, look at the calls that were booked yesterday. You don't have 100 calls booked in a day. Let's say you have 15, 20 calls booked in a day. Look at those calls and analyze which one of those had pre-call messaging, manual confirmation, and which one didn't. And I guarantee you after a week of that, if the pre-call messaging shows that there is causation between sending the pre-call messaging and having a higher show-up rate, I guarantee you the entire sales team will start doing it without you having to say one word. And I'm going to have a meeting with him today. That was last week. I'm going to have a meeting with him today, and I'm going to see if that's actually the case. But I bet you the money that it is. So manual confirmations is a huge, huge part of this trust building process, especially if you are the face of the brand, you're the one that's generating all the book calls, and then when they book a call, they see some random guy's name that they've literally never even heard or seen before because it's your salesperson. You have to build the trust with that person. And that's the next part of this, which is going to be to edify. So you want to make sure bottom of funnel, if you have sales teams, that you're edifying your sales team. Edification means that you're putting them up on a pedestal. You want this person who is, let's say in my example, you're watching this video right now, maybe you want my help scaling your business and my team's help scaling your business. Well, you built up, maybe you've watched 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 YouTube videos of me so far. You built up all this trust with me and you really, really trust me. But then you book a call and you see Bob Smith. Your scheduled to speak is Bob Smith. You're going to think, who the hell is Bob Smith? I like Ravi. I've trusted Ravi this entire time. And unless Bob Smith reaches out or I reach out and say, hey, this is Bob Smith. He's this amazing guy. This is why he's so great. Excited for you guys to connect. Well, then you're going to not trust Bob Smith. And we're going to go right back to the thing that we said earlier, which is you're probably going to no-show the call because you have no trust built with Bob Smith. You have no rapport with him. You could care less if you no-show him. But what if before the call, as soon as you book, I send you an email and say, hey, James, thanks so much for booking the call to speak with us. I wanted to introduce you to Bob Smith. He's CC'd on this email. He's the one that's going to be taking the call with you. Bob Smith's actually been with us for 3 years. He's enrolled over, let's say, 1,000 clients and actually used to run his own multiple 7-figure business. And he's going to be able to be really, really helpful and help identifying whatever the constraint is in your business, removing it and helping you scale, right? And then Bob Smith replies to that email and he says, hey, Ravi, thanks for the pass off. Nice to meet you, James. It's Bob here. Super excited to speak on our call. Like Ravi said, I did blah, blah, blah. And now they have their conversation. Well, now I am doing what we like to call transfer of trust. I have now transferred some of my trust from me into the salesperson. I've edified them. And a little bonus tip here, do the exact same thing for your client success team. If you're the face of the brand and they want to work with you one-on-one, do the exact same thing with the client success team. Edify your client success team and make it even seem like they're better than you at fulfilling for your clients. That way your clients aren't saying, oh, I want to speak with Ravi one-on-one only, or I don't want to speak with anybody, blah, blah, blah. And my clients can do that if they select that level of package that we have. But if not, they can work with my team who's been with me for 4 years and helped scale literally over 2,000 businesses, right? So they're still incredibly talented. But of course, these people don't know that team yet. And so I need to edify that team. So same thing for client success as the same thing for sales. So those are bottom of funnel content. Now there's a bunch of other stuff that you can do, but just for the sake of this video, I'm not going to go too much deeper into it. So the main thing that you can get in order to increase your show rate after you say that they can't do it. The main way that you can get somebody to actually show up is get them to trust you, get them to believe in you, and get them to get exposure from you, which is going to be through content, both top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel. Now, let's talk about the second reason why I see a really high no-show rate. And this is what we like to call in our company curious, but not serious. Okay. So curious, but not serious means that you don't have enough of this content top of funnel before they're getting on a call. That person doesn't have a great enough pain point. You haven't explained hard enough what you do and what makes you different. And so they're just booking a call to learn a little bit more. And so because they're just booking a call to learn a little bit more, first of all, they're going to have if they even show up to the call, they're going to have an extended out sales cycle. They're going to have a very low close rate. But a lot of times you're going to see that these people are the biggest people that no-show your calls because it's like, oh, I just wanted to learn a little bit more, right? And so because they're just learning a little bit more, then they don't think that this is going to be some life-changing call for them. And so they're going to be okay if something else popped up, just skipping out on this thing here. Like, oh, I was just kind of curious how this thing worked. I just wanted to know what your pricing was. I just wanted to know, how this thing worked. Well, now you're wasting your salesperson's time if they even show up, blah, blah, blah. So you want to make sure that you're creating a sales process that only attracts serious people. Now, there's a few really great ways to do this. The first, of course, is going to be through this middle of funnel, either video sales letter or webinar, some kind of sales mechanism that's going to filter out the curious people top of funnel with the serious people middle of funnel. So you might say something inside the video sales letter or the webinar that says something like, this is only if you're currently experiencing these specific pains and you can't go a day longer with it. This is only if you're currently experiencing these specific pains and you want this dream outcome yesterday, right? So I'm drawing in those types of people. I can say this is not for you if you're just doing okay, and that's great for you. If you're not really that hungry, if you're fine with that weight, if you're fine with not finding the correct partner, if you're okay with your bank balance looking like that, hey, look, all the power to you. I wish you the best, but this video is not for you. Do not book a call and don't watch the rest of this video. It's okay to push those people away because all they're going to do is take up space in your calendar. They're going to no-show anyway. And so what I really love to show people, this is a great illustration of this. So let's say that this is a calendar. So we'll do Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So what I've noticed a lot of times is what people mostly optimize for is, let's say just they're taking calls 7 days a week. They just want a full calendar 7 days a week. No matter what, let's just get a packed calendar 7 days a week. But in reality, what I've seen is that if you don't have these correct things in place, you probably just have, let's say 1 to 2 people a day that are actually curious. Actually serious instead of curious, that are actually qualified. And so this is what your calendar looks like, right? It's all of this extra time that your salesperson's wasting on all these random people that are curious or not serious or not qualified. And then that's why, you don't have a high close rate. And it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it takes Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Sunday to Wednesday to have 5 qualified taken sales calls. That's not including a low show up rate, but let's just keep it easy. 5 qualified taken calls. So if you're at a 20% close rate, that means 1 close every Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 4 days. Okay. Instead, what we really would want is, let's take that exact same calendar. Let me just draw this again real quick. And I'm just going to draw it roughly here so I can save some time. Exact same calendar. And instead, I would rather have literally all of my qualified calls stacked on this first day right here. And then I'd rather have nothing the rest of the days. Just give me that time back to enjoy. Or I have nothing for 3 days and then all these qualified people right here, nothing for 2 days, right? I'd rather have some velocity on these calls. And when we take the calendar away from this, where it's 1 closing every 1, 2, 3, 4 days, and instead it's like this, and it's 1 closing every day, obviously that's a higher velocity of cash for your company. So we want to really be optimizing for people that are serious, not just curious. And one of the main ways you're going to do that is through the VSL and webinar. Another really great option is going to be through the calendar questions. So I love the calendar question, like, if you're presented with the right solution, how soon are you looking to make this XYZ change? Or how serious are you in making this XYZ change? And then you give them 3 or 4 options. It's like, I'm interested, I want to do this right now. I'm financially and emotionally available. I might be interested, I just want to learn a little bit more and I could move forward soon. Or I'm just shopping around, I don't really know if I'm interested or not. If somebody says that for us or for some of my portfolio companies or clients' businesses, we automatically cancel them off the calendar and we say, hey, thanks so much for booking a call. Unfortunately, it seems that you're not serious about this right now, which is totally fine. Please rebook whenever you are serious. If this was a mistake, you can rebook right here. And that gets rid of all these people that were just window shopping, they were just curious, and it lets you focus on only the most serious people. Now, the only caveat to this entire thing is do not do this if you don't have good top of funnel and middle of funnel content that exposes them to you, your process, what makes you different, your case studies, blah, blah, blah. Because if you're saying, oh, I only want serious, not curious people, but you don't give those people that were first curious the information they need to become serious beforehand, you can't be surprised when everybody is just curious and not serious. So that's why building a really solid content plan, both through paid ads and organic content, and infusing sales copywriting in the video sales letter, the webinar, the email sequences, et cetera, is really, really important. And one of the best things that I've ever done is created a really, really solid feedback loop between marketing and sales. And one of my favorite things that I will do is I will literally, almost on a daily basis, I will take all the sales call recordings that we took that day. I will analyze them inside of ChatGPT or Claude, and then I'll figure out what adjustments do we need to make on our video sales letter in our marketing material to get more people that are serious and less people that are curious. What adjustments do we need to make to call out more pain points, pick more desires of our dream clients, right? And so I'm just constantly refining. Imagine if you had 500 sales calls of your dream clients, and whether they closed or not. Imagine how much easier it would be to create a marketing material that attracted more of those people, right? And so that's that iterative process between sales and marketing to make sure that you're only attracting the most qualified people. Now, I don't want to go on too much more of a tangent on that, but the point being that you need to make sure that these people are not only trust you and they believe that you can help them, but they are serious in making that change. Because the bottom line is this. If we go back to this top slide here, if you make sure that when you're going through the messaging and the sequences and that they can get the link, that everything works mechanically, and you make sure that they trust you and that not only do they trust you, but they're serious about making a change, almost immediately you will see an increase in your show rate, almost immediately, okay? Now, I wanted to talk about one more thing because this was probably the biggest needle mover for us after we figured out that we had the issues about that they weren't getting the email after they booked. The biggest issue for us, and it still falls under this trust one right here, is I'll just say spam, is that we were sending, let's say between the Calendly emails and text messages, the manual confirmation, our own automated emails, we were sending like 14 or 15 pieces of communication within 48 hours of somebody booking a call to speak with us. Now, I know that I guess there's other people that are saying that that's a good idea. So maybe it is for other people. But let's just put you in somebody else's shoes, right? Let's say you're your prospect. You just booked a call, you're serious of working with them, and you want to learn more and getting on a call to speak with them. If you get 14 emails or texts or calls before that call, do you feel good about that experience, right? Let's say you booked a dentist appointment and they are literally calling and texting you and emailing you 14 times. You have other shit going on in your life. And these people are acting like if you don't confirm this and you don't respond to this and consume all their content, then they're going to cancel your dental appointment, okay? That would kind of rub me the wrong way. I'm just being honest with you, right? So maybe other people, that's going to be totally fine. But for me, it would rub me the wrong way. And that's one of the best things I always do is I always put myself in my prospect shoes, especially because the majority of you are selling who your old prospects used to be or who you used to be is exactly what you're selling. So I'm selling, Ravi back when he was making, let's say, $10,000 to $100,000 a month. That's who I'm selling right now. We work with clients that are doing $100 million a year, but I'd say the majority of the content I create is more towards people that are, let's say, between $100,000 a year and $2 to $3 million a year. So that was old Ravi. So when I think about old Ravi, how busy he was, how much work he was doing, how stressed he was, all these things coming out all the time, I think he'd be kind of pissed off if somebody sent that many messages beforehand. Not only that, but that increases what is called sales resistance, okay? So sales resistance is when somebody that is been sold to so many times or feels like they're going to be sold to, they start putting up walls immediately. So like if I get 14 emails in 2 days, I'm like, wow, this person's going to try to one call close me on that call. Like I need to protect myself and make sure I don't pull up my wallet right away, right? You're immediately going to have people that are going to start no showing. They're going to show up. They're going to be very guarded. They're not going to close right away, et cetera, et cetera. Ironically enough, by trying to force the content down somebody's throat, after they book the call, you're going to do the exact opposite of what you do. You're actually going to erode the trust that you wanted to. So that's why for me, if I had to draw like almost like a little timeline right here, let's say that this is let's say a viewer, let's say that this is a call, and let's say that this is a close, right? In my opinion, you want to be doing all of your content between viewer and call. That's when you can put out hundreds of YouTube videos a year and dozens of reels a month, and you want them to get as much exposure from you as possible. And then once they become a call to a close, it should be a little bit lighter. You're a little bit more serious, and it should be more intentional, right? This is a little bit more of the personal reach outs, the personal calls and confirmations, identifying what their specific process is. I don't want to be still blasting them with the generic content I'm doing top of funnel, because that's not really fair to them, and it's not going to warm them up for that actual sales call. Instead, I want to be incredibly intentional. I want to make sure that every email and text I send is very specific. It's necessary in order to push somebody forward. I'm not trying to send them 40 pieces of content. Maybe I just want them to confirm one thing and consume one piece of content before the call. And if you do it that way, you're going to have people come to the call looking forward to it. They're going to be relaxed. Their sales resistance is going to be down, and they're going to be more open to listening to you, admitting their faults, admitting that they can't do this on their own, and they're going to be more willing to change. If you're watching this video and you are having problems scaling your business, whether it has to do with marketing or sales or even client success, operations, finance, anything like that, I recommend going down below and clicking that first link in the description where you can watch a short video, my video sales letter, and then book a call to speak with us if you'd like to learn a little bit more about how we can help you scale your business. And if you're not interested in that, then just go down below and comment and let me know what you thought about this video, any additional questions that you have, and I'll be sure to answer them. Thanks.